Hello ladies, gentlemen, and my NB friends, and welcome back to the Kelde channel. I'm your host, Kelde, and today we're going to be taking a look at Death Must Die, an early access indie title that I've really been enjoying. My relationship with it is not dissimilar to the one I have with Axiom of Maria. Find a cool indie game, keep up with the updates, play through it, and thoroughly enjoy it. And just like Axiom, I want to make a video to sing its praises. Yeah, I reuse the same title, but if I keep coming across awesome indie games like these, then I'll keep using it. That said, very promising is an understatement. Death Must Die is a really cool roguelike with some light bullet hell aspects mixed in. Add in some tried and true RPG gear elements and a lovely art style and you have a recipe for a phenomenal game. Before we jump in, I must acknowledge that what I'm going over is an early access build and the product is subject to change. What makes Death Must Die so good in my mind is the blending of several aspects that all work together to make a simply fun experience. Just like a video game, what better place to start than with the basics? First and foremost, you have 5 potential characters to choose from. Each character has their own stats, speeds, and attack styles to make them unique in a very clear way. Maris is a sorceress that has a ranged basic attack and is the only character to have such. Kronk is a slow behemoth whose attack hits around his entire character. This little aspect makes the gear system as well as the general replayability all the more worthwhile. Before we get into the gear system, let's talk about the gameplay. Each run is taking your character into Death's Realm, an endless environment that houses landmarks to bestow buffs, loot to take back with you, and undead wanting to kill you. Starting off, you fight simple skeletons, but later on you're fighting spirits, summoners, Blummin' Dracula. The playing field is something that many may take for granted. Make no mistake though, the design of it is brilliant. Rather than being procedurally generated randomized corridors or sub-room layouts, Death Must Die opts in for an endless open space that spawns in various interactables that provide the player with various offerings. Some statues provide you with buffs, such as invincibility, gain more experience, deal more damage. Certain landmarks, like graves, will drop loot for you to pick up. Then you'll find these beautifully designed statues of the divines that give multiple buffs to choose from. Sometimes these buffs will come with a negative effect as well, making the player consider whether or not the pros outweigh the cons with their current progress. Here's the best part though, this endless map isn't the same each run. This makes every run you play out differently. You might find more campfires to raise your max health, or you might find more statues to get beefed the hell up. Each new round is different from the last. Replayability, especially in a roguelike, is key in my opinion, and with something as basic as the map you're playing on, I think Death Must Die kills it in this regard. Oh god, that was terrible. I mentioned experience, so I guess now is a good time to mention the experience and level system. When you kill an enemy, they will drop EXP shards. Some boons and traits will make it so kills or attacks will make the enemy drop more of these shards. Picking up these shards will progress you to the next level, which is the primary way of obtaining boons. Boons are exactly what you're thinking. A deity will give you 3 blessings to choose from and you pick one. The best part about boons is how they're so effortlessly woven into the whole experience. Gameplay-wise, it's pretty simple. The boons target specific mechanics such as dash, movement, and your basic attack, but also have their own set mechanics that they feed into. A lot of Mort's boons are summon related and play off of a debuff exclusive to her boons called Cursed. It's neat stuff and very easy to understand, especially for new players. You have to be careful with which deity you side with however, because as far as I've been able to notice, you can only have a few set deities per run. I could be wrong, but I feel like you can only have 3 or 4 different deities' blessings at a time, and after that, then you'll just keep getting those same for each offering. If someone can confirm or deny this, please do so in the comments, I'd love to know for certain. Another aspect of these boons is the layer of strategy that comes with them. Certain boons require a prerequisite blessing to obtain before it's offered. Along with this though, the rarity system is here as well. Some gear can increase your odds of getting better boons, which is one clever way of implementing long-form progression. More on the gear system later, but I just had to mention how it factors in here. Leveling up isn't the only way of obtaining these boons either. You can also get them from defeating these strong enemies or by defeating bosses. This doesn't skip you on to the next level resetting your EXP progress, and instead just gives you a free roll of the blessings to choose from. This is really neat and makes warding off one of these challenging foes really worth it in the end. The other side of this metaphorical boon coin is that the blessings all fit into the character bestowing them and all really play into the lore. I'll mention like the story and lore very briefly later, but I had to mention this here because it's actually really cool. For a different player that maybe doesn't care about the story and just wants something fun, it's still really nice to have internal logic and making the core aspects of the game make sense on the most basic of levels. Something cool that Death Must Die does is that it runs off of a time system. Since the map is an open, endless world, there are no corridors or rooms that you have to clear enemies out of before progressing. Instead, there's a clock keeping track of your progress. Enemies will spawn at predictable intervals. The slime wave will always take place at 4 minutes in. The gargoyles will always spawn in 7 minutes in, so on and so forth. This not only gives a very clear curve of progression, but it also makes building strategies each game much easier. The further the player gets, the more patterns they'll pick up on, and with their newfound knowledge they'll be able to fend off the hordes better and last longer. It's quite neat. Next, let's chat difficulty. Is the game difficult? I wouldn't say it's hard, but it is very skill driven, if that makes sense. The timed aspects make it so each run has an air of predictability to them. While the game can be silly and RNG relevant in certain ways, such as what boons are offered, rarity of blessings, what landmarks you find, evasion chance, etc., you are still offered gear to help give you an edge, and your knowledge of the patterns from repeatedly running through Death's Realm can provide you an upper hand. I would say that the game is a fair challenge, but I'm not really good at video games, nor have I played any game too similar to this one before, so what do I know? If you think the game is too easy, once you defeat Dracula, effectively completing Act 1, you can then optionally up the difficulty with sliders before starting a new round. I genuinely think it's a really cool decision to give this after forcing the player to complete a run with the intended difficulty. Also, something that's really neat, increasing the difficulty increases the quality of loot that's dropped. Greater risk, greater reward, and I think that's just a novel idea. Each character also has their own equipment. There is light, medium, and heavy armor that you can get that are only usable by certain characters based on their armor requirements. Certain gear is restricted to the classes themselves, but beyond that, each piece of gear has its own stats that makes the whole part of this customization really engaging. The gear itself doesn't just list random arbitrary numbers, and instead lists the stats and buffs in a very clear manner, which makes grasping the system much easier. Also, remember what I said about characters having their own stats? Well, with the gear you obtain, you could either further play into the intended playstyles for each character, or you could try your own thing and go nuts. If you know me, you know I love RPGs and the freedom that a system like this can instill, and in Death Must Die, it's in full effect. Now to cap off our brief overview of this lovely game, let's talk about the lore. It certainly exists. That's very unfair of me to say, and truthfully, I meant it in jest. In all honesty, I think a lot of the story, world building, and character interactions are all done extremely well. You're given very little through actual dialogue, which I love. The game doesn't halt to explain the inner machinations of the world and those who inhabit it. It instead offers very quick blips of text with books. The book system, in my opinion, is brilliant. One of the interactable landmarks you come across in the game is a bookshelf. Interacting with it will drop a book. This isn't a relic, something to equip, it's instead just a portion of a full text that works to further define the world. This is just a really cute, non-offensive way of providing optional lore for those that are interested. There's even a little bookshelf in the lobby that you can store your books on. It's really neat. If I did have one criticism of this system though, it's that the bookshelves themselves in the overworld are like, very rare? I have nearly 20 hours in this game and I've only found these. Maybe up the spawn rate a little bit? I'd love to have a full collection. If I'm talking about world building, then I can't not mention the characters. The text between the characters is remarkably cute and simple. Each character is a non-emotive, 2D pixelated figure. When they talk though, the text gives a very clear indication as to what kind of people they are. Averon is the knight. He's noble and centered, so naturally he talks very plainly, with text that's very proper. Maris, on the other hand, talks with emoticons in her text, in all lowercase letters and with extra punctuation to explain her mood. Whoever was responsible for this writing with the character dialogue, thank you. This is just so brilliant and cheeky, and I've never seen it done before. I just love this cast, every single one of them. While gameplay-wise they all differ, dialogue and, well, character-wise, they're all very different and unique from one another. It's awesome, and I love being able to see what new conversations would be available between the cast. It's so simple and effective. Death Must Die is a brilliant game. It does so much so well. Everything I mentioned, by the way, is just what's available in Act 1. That's right, there's tons more to come and I am so excited. If anything about this game interests you, I highly encourage that you give it a shot. It's so flipping good, and it's not $70. Well, that's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed the video, then please leave a like. If my style intrigued you in any way, then might I encourage you to check out one of my more recent videos or consider subscribing. Anyways, thank you so much for watching and have a great one. Okay, bye bye.